In 175 AD, the most powerful man on earth was dying in a freezing military camp in Germany. He was suffocating from a plague that was wiping out his empire. And in his absolute darkest moment, he received a letter that should have shattered his mind. His top general, the man guarding half the known world, was plotting to steal his throne. Worse, the general wasn't acting alone. He was backed by the emperor's own wife. If this happens to a normal king, rivers of blood flow. Mass executions. Paranoid purges. But this wasn't a normal king. This was Marcus Aurelius. And instead of launching a bloodbath, he deployed a psychological weapon so unnatural, it completely broke the Roman world. This is the true, documented story of how to destroy your enemies without throwing a single punch. To understand the scale of this betrayal, you have to understand the nightmare Rome was living through. The empire was tearing itself apart. The Antonine Plague was slaughtering 2,000 people a day in the capital. At the same time, massive barbarian hordes were smashing into the northern borders. Marcus Aurelius was exhausted, forced to pawn the palace jewels just to fund the war. He was pushed to the absolute edge of human endurance. And then, there was the betrayer, Avidius Cassius. Cassius was not just a soldier. He was the supreme commander of the East, the second most dangerous man alive. He had just crushed a massive rebellion in Egypt using sheer, brutal terror. Cassius was arrogant, ruthless, and he openly despised Marcus Aurelius. In private letters, Cassius mocked the emperor. He called him a weak, bookish old man. He complained that Marcus spent his time writing in a diary, obsessing over philosophy and the soul, instead of exercising absolute dominance. Cassius believed power belonged to the brutal. Marcus believed power belonged to the disciplined. All Cassius needed was a spark to ignite a civil war. He got it from the emperor's own bedroom. A rumor suddenly swept across the eastern provinces. The plague had finally killed Marcus Aurelius. The emperor was dead. Back in Rome, Empress Faustina panicked. She knew Roman politics. If Marcus was dead, rival generals would instantly murder her teenage son to take the throne. Terrified, she made a fatal calculation. She sent a secret message to the one man ruthless enough to protect her. She told Avidius Cassius to declare himself emperor. Cassius didn't hesitate. He declared himself the ruler of the world. 7 heavily armed Roman legions immediately swore allegiance to him. The entire eastern half of the empire flipped. But Cassius didn't just take land. He took Egypt. In the ancient world, Egypt was the grain supply. By taking it, Cassius cut off Rome's food. The capital was weeks away from starvation. Riots were imminent. The empire was plunging toward the bloodiest civil war in human history. Thousands of miles away, on the freezing German front, Marcus Aurelius got the news. He wasn't dead, but his empire was being stolen. His wife had lost faith in him, and his general had put a knife in his back. How did the emperor react? He didn't scream. He didn't order the execution of Cassius's family in Rome. He did something terrifyingly calm. He kept it a total secret. For days, Marcus walked around his camp, completely silent. He was doing exactly what Cassius mocked him for. He was practicing Stoicism. In his private journal, he wrote that people will be treacherous, but a true philosopher cannot be harmed unless he chooses to let them inside his mind. Marcus processed the betrayal logically. He mastered his own rage before he touched his sword. When he finally addressed his army, the soldiers expected a furious speech demanding vengeance. Instead, Marcus delivered the biggest philosophical flex in history. He didn't speak with rage, he spoke with sorrow. He told his men he was willing to step down. If the Roman Senate wanted Cassius to rule, Marcus would walk away without a fight to save lives. But, he noted, Cassius had declared war. And so, they had to march. But not to kill the traitor. They were marching to claim a prize never before won by any ruler in history. Marcus Aurelius told his army his ultimate goal was to capture Cassius alive, look him dead in the eyes, and publicly forgive him. He wanted to prove to the Roman world that Stoic philosophy wasn't just words in a book. It was a tangible weapon that could neutralize a civil war. Marcus pulled his battle-hardened legions from the northern frontier. Tens of thousands of the most terrifying killers on earth turned around and began the march toward Egypt. Back in the east, reality hit Avidius Cassius. Word reached his camp that Marcus Aurelius was not dead. The emperor was alive, he was angry, and his veteran legions were coming straight for them. Cassius's men panicked. They were garrison soldiers. They stood zero chance against Marcus's hardened frontier troops. Paranoia skyrocketed. The soldiers realized they had bet their lives on the wrong side. They were trapped. The Grand Rebellion didn't end in a massive, cinematic battle. It ended in the dirt. Exactly 3 months and 6 days into the rebellion, 2 of Cassius's own officers cornered him in his camp. One stabbed him in the neck. The other hacked off his head. The assassins packed Cassius's severed head into a box and rode for days to deliver it to Marcus Aurelius. They expected gold, promotions, and the emperor's gratitude. When the box was placed in front of Marcus Aurelius, the tent went dead silent. The emperor looked at it. He absolutely refused to open it. He ordered the head buried immediately. And then, the most powerful man on earth openly wept. He didn't cry because he lost a friend. He cried because he had been robbed of his victory. He had been robbed of the chance to show ultimate mercy to his worst enemy. But the danger to the empire wasn't over. The Roman Senate, terrified and furious, demanded a massive witch hunt. They wanted Cassius's private letters brought to Rome so they could read them, find the names of every politician who supported the coup, and execute them all. It was the perfect opportunity for Marcus to wipe out his political rivals permanently. Marcus Aurelius intercepted the heavy chest containing all of Cassius's secret correspondence. He stood in front of a fire. He took the letters, and without opening a single one, without reading a single name, he threw them into the flames. He burned the evidence. He chose to never know the names of the men who betrayed him. By destroying the letters, he guaranteed his enemies could never be hunted down or executed. He forced the empire to forgive them. Avidius Cassius tried to destroy the Roman Empire using fear, deception, and brute military might. He thought ruthlessness was the only true power. Marcus Aurelius defeated him, humiliated his legacy, and saved Rome using the one thing Cassius couldn't comprehend: complete, unbreakable mastery of his own mind.